I'm a bit perplexed about our language, and I'm a bit perplexed about our priorities. Now, apparently, there's about 11% of our countries would regard migration as the priority, and yet it dominates the news day after day. And Suella Braverman is the figure who is constantly on the television. Why is that? Is the government trying to distract us from other things? And Suella Braverman, I cannot believe that she was advised to use the term invasion. When I think of an invasion, I think of the Viking or the Mongol hordes attacking northern Europe. She is using this language to demonize migrants of any form. And we've already got to a point where I think the country accepts, without challenging, that there is a difference between a genuine refugee and an economic migrant. Well, if we go back just a few decades, most of our families have economic migration locked into our background. I know I do. So we've got a situation where Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has broken the ministerial code. Not once. In fact, she did it twice, but 6 times. So that makes 8 times. 8 times. Sending emails all over the place. And we don't actually know where she sent those 6 emails that she concedes she also sent away from her ministerial email. Surely these ministerial emails are monitored. Surely somebody noticed this. Surely this was flagged up. Aren't there supposed to be notices which pop up every time you try and do something which is illicit? And surely those are seen by others. How did she do it? It all seems so surreptitious and so cloak and dagger. What an excellent spy she would make. And now we know that she was also, she's also alleged to have broken the law itself. She was given advice that keeping people in the asylum centres, in the detention centres in Manston in Kent, would be wrong. These were disease-ridden centres. We know that there was diphtheria, scabies, and abuse. And we know that 2,600 people were kept there for more than 4 weeks in a place designed only for 1,600. Now there's 4,000. The buses have been bussing people out today. She apparently refused to allow people to go to hotels because she thought it was too expensive. She says, or she said yesterday, that isn't true. She was evasive in the language she used. It was a very, very carefully constructed speech. If you compare that speech with the things that she said in the past, she definitely did not write it. That I think is absolutely a fact. She did not write that speech. Whether it has lawyers all over it, I don't know, but she didn't write it. And the moment she strayed away from that speech, she went into very strange territory. She had a script, and she couldn't quite stick to it, because she can't resist her urge to tell us about her dark dreams. So one of the families, apparently, caught up in this Manston detention centre is from Afghanistan. And there were calls to Suella Braverman to move them to a safer place. That wasn't good enough for her. She wasn't prepared to pay for hotel bills. She didn't want them moved to a hotel in a conservative area nearby, apparently, allegedly. It's extraordinary. There was talk, she apparently suggested that they could be fitted with GPS trackers. They weren't available. GPS trackers, isn't that for criminals? So these people had come from Afghanistan, had fled the Taliban, had fled inhumane treatment, only to be stuffed into a concentration camp and kept there for 4 weeks in a white plastic tent, sleeping apparently on the floor, on mats like a dog. And we consider this to be British hospitality, a standard of the way that we live in this country. I'm ashamed. People are coming here because they have been tortured, because they've been fleeing the Taliban, because they've been persecuted, because they've been trafficked, because of famine, because of fear about their gender, sexuality, their background. They fear for their lives, and we stuff them into white plastic tents because this is our standard. We say they're going to be there for no more than 24 hours, and 4 weeks later, in an overcrowded, disease-infested, wretched place, they're still there. And they will still be kept in hotels, their life on hold for the next 2 years, because we don't expect to process them for 400 and something odd days, 500 days. 500 odd days if they're a child. It's wrong. So we're taking a big stand against illegal migration, which is very difficult to define, but Suella Braverman and her cronies think everybody understands it. And certainly judging by some of the particularly alarming language that I read, yeah, a lot of people do seem to think that they share an understanding of this language. I don't really know what it means. Does it mean that these are people who have come here illegally? Does it mean that they are then judged to be illegal? Two different things. They cannot be judged to be illegal if their paperwork hasn't been processed. And to come here by illegal means, illicit means, let's say, doesn't automatically make them illegal. I don't see how we have got to the point where we're using the term illegal migration, particularly when the person in charge of the Home Office is now accused of doing something illegal herself. There are more important things. There are more important things that we have to talk about. We have to talk about healthcare. We have to talk about the disintegration of our union. We have to talk about the protection of Ukraine. We have to talk about the cost of living. And yet, Suella Braverman is pulling focus with almost maniacal glee. Is there something we are not being told? Is she actually delegated to play the role of Wicked Witch? Is this like some reenactment of the opening scenes in colour of The Wizard of Oz? Are we going to find her in a few minutes, not thrown under the bus by Rishi Sunak, but dumped under a house with her legs popping out from the bottom? Or is she indeed the person who's going to emerge from under a road in a puff of green smoke saying, "You killed my sister, the Wicked Witch of the East"? But who are you? I'm the Wicked Witch of the West. It's very worrying.